Rise, Tarnish, and welcome to the Soulsbuds Podcast, where two buds rest at a bonfire to yap all things Souls games. We're your hosts, Eric Shulkin.
And Levi Winslow.
What's going on, Levi?
It's a somber day. Somber day today.
Yeah, what's going on?
Like we were talking about a little bit earlier, right? Not to make this a news podcast, because it is not. We are not a news podcast. We are a Souls games podcast. Microsoft layoffs. It's just unfortunate what's been going on in the games industry. So I've been kind of mourning that a little bit,
9,000 folks, you told me.
9,000, yeah. As of yesterday, across all of Xbox, Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
And then in May, it was another 6,000.
Right.
So over 15,000 people in just 2025 alone, which is very, games canceled, studios getting shuttered. It's unfortunate.
It is. And we're recording this. Sorry, we're recording this on July. We're recording this. I don't know when we're fucking recording this.
What time is it?
I never left the set from the last one, so I just stayed here.
That makes sense. All your clothes are here.
What? Yeah, you didn't notice? Yeah.
Living in a closet.
We're recording this on July 3rd, and I've come out of the closet. Oh, wait.
Yes, I did.
Oh, no.
How painful.
Oh, yes. No. Beautiful. How beautiful. But yeah, July 3rd that we're recording this.
And I'm sorry I just gave a very silly aside for somber news. Happy Pride. That wasn't even a funny joke that I made. But it's
Jesus Christ.
I know. It wasn't. Yeah. But it sucks. 9,000 people, and it's a trickle down layoff, I feel like. And so this is obviously from folks across the whole company, all divisions.
All divisions, yeah. So it's from software development to engineering to coding to programming to game development, all across the board. So not even just Xbox, like the entirety of Microsoft. And of course, reading statements from Xbox boss Phil Spencer talking about, this was difficult, hard decision, someone has to do it, blah, blah, blah. Positioning ourselves for strategic growth because everything line always has to go up. But another part that I was reading was that it's primarily to sort of fuel AI growth. And, there's been some quotes going around that I think Satya Nadella, who is the CEO of Microsoft, had said that probably a majority of the code that's being written is written by software, which is crazy to think about. So yeah, it's just,
like Windows OS code, you mean? Or like
I assume like Microsoft code, maybe like Windows operating system code. Like he didn't specify what code, but he said that a majority or a good portion of the code that's being written right now is written by software. So AI is just taking our jobs. AI is taking our jobs.
Yep. Our first topic today.
Gar Games.
Yes.
Alex Garland, right?
Mm-hmm.
Director of 28 Years Later. That's the new one that's out, right? Coming out. That is out 28 years later.
Yeah. I just paused for a second. I was like, For a second, I thought you said 28 days later. I'm like, no, that was... Yes, he is.
Years later.
He is.
Writer-director, I think. But, writer-director, movie guy.
Movie guy.
Currently working writer-director of the Elden Ring movie.
Yeah.
In an IGN article... week and a half ago or whatever, basically like mid-end June, said that he's on his 7th playthrough of Elden Ring. And that's shocking because I haven't even finished my first one. I guess you got to take my Souls card because that game is hard as shit.
I won't do it for that.
But 7th playthrough, that's really interesting.
It raised a lot of questions for me, actually. Yeah. No, both of us. We both
got a lot of notes here
to
talk about.
When I
we've got a question from producer Artem.
Oh, producer Artem.
So Alex Garland did not direct a new one. That was Danny Boyle. He did write it though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Our bad.
Bye-bye.
We got that correction. He was the writer on 28 Years Later, not director.
Right.
But I know that he's associated, right, outside of being a writer. Didn't he direct one of them?
Him and Danny Boyle have been writing together a long time.
So there we go.
I don't think he directed one of them. It was a different director for 28 Weeks Later, which I saw once and never want to see again. But early Idris Elba, so that's cool.
Oh, true. Yeah. Idris Elba.
Jeremy Renner.
Love him. He's beautiful.
Rose
gorgeous
Byrne, with an American accent for some reason, even though it's set in London. So I don't know.
That's crazy.
What's up
Why
with that?
wouldn't she,
I don't know.
All right.
stretch her range, I guess.
Yeah. But okay.
Okay, so Gar Games, we entreated him to email us at soulsbuds at gmail.com.
Wait, Soulsbuds Pod.
Damn it. Maybe that's why. Maybe I said it wrong.
Probably. Soulsbuds Pod at gmail.com.
Then Alex just ran to a legitimate outlet. IGN. I think the interview, or at least the article, was by one Simon Cardy. I try to say the writers' names when it's clear.
Very necessary.
Or the interview actually may have been done by someone else, and the article. It's always unclear,
right?
Who's the host, who's the writer,
who wrote it. Right.
But we just want to give credit to everyone that we possibly can,
and the people that we know at IGN and various other game websites who have done that reporting, because it was a very interesting, snippet of an interview. Of course, they asked him about Elden Ring, and he was like, I ain't saying nothing about Elden Ring, which makes sense. Of course he's not. The movie, at least.
A couple things jumped out to me from this. I mean, of course, number one, 7 playthroughs. I'm assuming there's 7 new game pluses, because the way he was talking, it seems like he's been building up experience and equipment. He said he got
a cool sword.
Yeah, and
he's got
and what else?
A lot of juice.
A lot of juice, he said. He's got a lot of juice.
What does that mean?
He wasn't saving the juice. He's got the juice.
He's got the juice. Oh, so he's Juicy J.
I can't confirm.
Juicy G.
I don't know. Juicy AG.
Juicy AG. I thought
Alex Juicy Garland.
There we go.
Okay.
I thought him saying, because he was talking about his 7th playthrough. IGN had asked him who was the hardest boss that he encountered. The interviewer was like, Radon is hard. Alex Garland was like, nah, Radon's a chump. He said you got to activate the summon signs. And then he said...
And that was a valid answer to me.
That's a valid answer.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what you're supposed to do, right? You can then go in and
But then he said halfway, didn't he? And that was incorrect.
He said, half his energy. Takes away half his energy. His energy. I was like, you mean his life?
I think I see what you're getting at. Why don't you come out and ask it?
Do you actually play Elden Ring?
Oh, no!
And the only reason why I ask, he says he's on his 7th playthrough. He said Radon's a chump and Millennia is hard.
Correct.
So in the tier listing, Millennia is obviously the hardest boss.
Generally considered the most brutal boss in, there's a discussion in DLC, maybe First Consort Radon, maybe.
Right. First Consort Radon is right next to, if not above, Millennia when talking about the entirety of Elden Ring, including Shadow of the Erdtree.
Makes sense.
Millennia is a very obvious answer. Radon, him saying Radon's a chump, I was like, okay, that's fair. Radon is in the challenging, like a high A, right around there. Maybe a little bit below.
Sure. But Millennia, you think him saying energy instead of life?
Energy and juice. And I don't know what juice is in reference to. Is that in reference to runes? Is that in reference to skill points? Is that in reference to your life?
I think
what does that mean? And maybe it's because he's old, He's older, so he talks about video games in an old kind of way. Fine, I'll take that. But I just thought, if you've played this game, you've got 7 playthroughs in this game, wouldn't you use more accurate language to describe your experience with this game that you've played 7 times? And you're making a movie about Elden Ring, so wouldn't you? And maybe he does. Maybe he's just on the spot. You need words just kind of like boom.
Words
boom,
happen.
Kind of
We're here on this podcast and we say words and they don't totally always make sense.
What are words? What are sentences? Exactly. That was my initial thought. Was these are interesting. This is an interesting choice of words. Do you actually play Elden Ring?
I wasn't expecting.
It's his 7th playthrough, so I'm like, okay, you probably do, but those word choices just kind of threw me for a loop.
I wasn't expecting this question from you, honestly. I think, we can ask that question. There's nothing wrong with asking we're just asking questions.
Making statements. Schumann?
I'll defend Alex Garland here. I think it was just his choice of word. I think by juice he meant overall experience, like the whole shebang,
Right.
Like he's coming in with, by his 7th new game plus playthrough or what have you, like he knows what to do. And why I think he has legitimately played a ton of these games is like there's certain like keystone phrases or like intonations he took that like he just struck me as someone who is a gamer. He's been doing this. Number one was how he like dismissed Radon. He's like, Radon's easy. Like, the way he said it, I was like, that's how a gamer would say to their friend who is struggling. So I was like, what are you talking about, dude?
Yeah, that's get stronger, get good,
right? Get good. And his quote later, which I felt like was very apt for Souls games in general. How did he phrase it?
Was it the you
monkey in the
yourself,
typewriter? Yeah,
and you do it again and again and again, and eventually they're dead.
Right. He said, I just throw myself at them again and again and again, like monkeys with a typewriter, along those lines. It's not that you get better, you just keep doing it, and eventually one day they're dead. Now, I hear him say that, and I thought, like, yeah, that's actually it. That is the distillation of most of these games, and it seems like he's played Dark Souls too. He made mention of that in the clip, that it was a lesson he learned from Dark Souls. So I think it's legit. 7's a ton.
7's a ton.
It's way more than I would have expected. I want to know what builds he went with. What sword do you think he was running?
I don't know. You know, he said like Millennia was hard, so 7th playthrough he beat Millennia. I'm hoping Rivers of Blood, Hand of Millennia. Something like that.
My personal favorite, Moonveil Katana.
That is a great katana.
I mean, you can get it so early on, and it just is excellent the whole
that can
game.
carry you.
Yeah.
With its, like, Getsuka Tensho.
It carried me. One of my favorite videos I did, Kotaku, was like tips and guide video about how to get the Moonveil Katana. The Magma Worm in Caelid. Anywho, here's awful. Here's a question that came to mind for me, too, though. Does this revelation, about how much Gar has gamed, AG, does it make you feel better or worse about the prospects of this Elden Ring movie? Like, can you care too much? Can you be overly familiar with this property in that you can maybe kind of like go down the wrong lane, Or does it not matter at all and has no bearing on this?
Juicy G. I think it's a good thing. I think it bodes well for him, and I think it bodes well for the project, because if you come in with no familiarity, like we talked about in whatever episode that was, 2, I think, we had said that it's about the tone, right? You have to understand the tone of the games and the tone of Elden Ring. And 7 playthroughs, you know the tone. You know what you're doing. So I have much more faith now that this is going to be a good movie. And I feel like Alex Garland typically does good work anyway. I like a lot of his movies to begin with. So I was already, cautiously optimistic, but now I'm just kind of like, I'm optimistic. I think it's going to be good. And it's A24, right?
It's A24.
Yeah, so it has to be good.
I agree with you. I simply wanted to pose the question, but I think it's a good thing. And now I want Alex Garland play Night Rain with us, since clearly you know what you're doing.
And we don't.
Yeah, and we don't.
Soulsbuds Pod
at gmail.com.
Get at us.
Come on. Drop us a line. Okay. What else we got? Oh, okay.
I think we're going to move on to segment 2, but, we'll take a little bit of a break.
Oh, yeah,
Give ourselves a bit of a breather before we start yapping some more.
That's right. We'll be right back.
We'll see y'all soon.
And we're back here for our second segment of the episode. And it's an update on a game we've talked about a good amount.
Game that we loved.
Yeah, the First Berserker Khazan. Oh, wait, I forgot to dramatically flip the first sheet. I forgot to do that.
That's important.
I think it's really important if I'm taking the time to fucking print it out for us.
Gotta toss it.
Yeah. But couple, what was this, like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, something like that.
It was a June 17th update, actually. Yeah, I forgot I have it in front of me.
Duh. The screen. Gotta look at the screens that are in front of you, with the lyrics.
Oh, no!
I'm not addressing it. I'm not responding to that. This guy.
That was in your grudge.
Okay.
Moving on.
So one of the big things that they changed here, and I'd love to, hear your thoughts on anything and everything about this update, is that they added 2 additional difficulty levels.
Yes.
Lots of quality of life changes, updates, reworks. Gonna take a drink of water 1 second.
Yeah, lots of quality of life improvements, lots of reworks, the 2 new difficulty modes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what was easy is now normal.
Yep. And easy is now, or
there's a beginner.
Mm-hmm. Right? Easy is normal. Normal is challenge.
Expert. And then
there's a hard.
And there's a new hardcore mode.
Yes.
So we could talk a little bit more about those. But yeah, you saw these updates. What was one of your first reactions? Before we get into maybe the larger, broader changes around difficulty, which tied into our big discussion question last time,
right?
And Girls On. We could talk about Girls On.
Got to talk about Girls On.
And we absolutely will. What were some any under the radar changes that stood out to you?
Yeah. So looking at my handy dandy notebook here.
Yeah. Whoa, nice writing.
Thank you.
Script.
Yeah, cursive, very difficult to read. I don't know why I do this.
I do it too.
Viper, because there's the demo. No, I don't think they have the demo anymore. So unfortunately, I believe you have to buy the game. Yeah, I think they sort of canceled the demo.
That sucks, actually, because I recommended the game to a friend yesterday. I'm like, it's a great demo. You should check out the demo.
I mean, hopefully, maybe look it up, right? Let's make sure that we're right. But I'm pretty sure I saw in one of the patch notes that they had disabled the demo because they feel like that the demo doesn't match where the game currently is.
It's changed too much.
It's changed too much.
Okay, it could come back.
So, if you had played the demo, you would have gotten the Yatuga boss, you would have gotten Blade Phantom, and then the third boss, Viper, which is technically the first boss because your save data carries over to the full game. So that's like the first real boss in the full game that you're facing. Viper, 2-phase boss, really difficult, was the main reason why I changed the difficulty from normal to easy in the first place. Has seen quite a few nerfs since the game came out. Got nerfed again.
Multiple rounds now of nerfs.
Yeah, and in this latest update on June 27th, Viper got nerfed again. So this time, Viper's exhaustion lasts 2 seconds longer, so from 5 seconds to 7 seconds. So the stagger window is longer. You can do a bit more damage. Now that he just kind of like sits there, breathing, catching his breath.
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting. That was one of the under the radar changes that I was like, wow, this boss I think kicking people's ass.
It's a little smaller note, but it's kind of interesting because, I don't think I've heard of a boss go through this many rounds of changes and revisions, and I think it's them recognizing, we overtuned this guy, and because it's so early on.
Yeah, it's at the beginning.
As we were talking about.
3 bosses in.
Yeah, when we reviewed the game.
Right, and that's the demo is 2 hours, right? Right about 2-3 hours. So, yeah, at hour 3, basically, you get hit with a wall, a 2-phase boss. You have not many healing. You have not many skills. You have not much experience at that point, and so you're just getting bodied by this stupid fucking lizard.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I'm not gonna win. Yeah. And at the time, if you change the difficulty or change the difficulty from normal to easy, you couldn't change it back to normal unless you started a new game plus or a whole new game. So they made that change where you can swap between the difficulties. But even between then and now, Viper continues to get nerfed. And I'm just like, oh, Viper. That is a tough boss. Viper. So, okay, that was a really interesting under-the-radar change. Another one was the Spirit of Advocacy, those sort of helper summons that you can call upon at the fog doors, going into bosses. They used to cost lacrima, whatever.
There was some currency that I forget the name of, but you got them by, going to the, whatever they're called, that you summon.
The Spirit of...
they're like Revenants in Neo. They're
the evil version.
Yeah. And it was one of the grindiest parts of the game, actually, because not only do those things,
lacrima, whatever, lacrima charms. I'm just gonna call them
lacrima charms. The evil revenant thingies, whatever. How you summon the dudes.
Spirit of Adversity.
Spirit of Adversity.
That's what.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That was my nickname in Nowhere. Never mind. Never once.
I don't think so. Yeah, so now they're free.
One of the grindiest parts of the game, though.
Yeah.
You'd keep going to those, whatever they're called, to get the Spirit of Adversities. And it was also a good source for gear to augment your stuff. So you were, pretty much like required to just like reload over and over again, and the position of them would change too. So like so many times I would like search around the stage like where can I grind more?
And sometimes they don't show up. Sometimes you have to rest at the bonfire or the blade nexus multiple times.
So it's a good change, a good little change. Like why even attach, like it was just random numbers,
right?
Like, oh, I got 5 this time from the thing. It's like, okay, just make it free.
And so now it's free. That's great. You can summon Spirit of Advocacies, helpers, whenever you want. Love that.
And it makes some builds, sorry to interrupt, it makes some builds more valid, actually, now that I think about it. There are some sets where it's like Spirit of Advocacy damage increase, like plus 50%.
Oh,
and like,
true.
And it's like, okay, and there's like some phantoms, I think, who do, one phantom who does that. And it just didn't feel like the right way to go about it most of the time, because like... making them free is better, just unquestionably better.
Yeah, and I hope that that's a change that we start seeing across Souls games, because I just feel like if you start requiring currency to summon people, then that almost decentivizes the act of summoning, so it makes that mechanic in the game pointless, since it requires a very limited resource that is very grindy to get. Making it free is just like a nice quality of life change. So then it's like, oh, I am having a hard time. I don't have to worry about this currency. I can just summon, get some help, beat the boss. Okay, I can move on. I don't have to worry about grinding this or summoning or anything like that. It's optional now, as opposed to feeling like, well, I'm just not going to do that because it costs too much or the grind is too much. So 2 very interesting under the radar changes. And of course, you've got the difficulty change that makes the easy difficulty normal. And what creative director Junho Lee has said was that in the data they found that even with the easy difficulty, they were finding people dropping off way too soon. He didn't say when or like what boss. He didn't give stats, but they said that the data showed that the game was still too punishing. And so they've made quality of life changes to the easy mode that's now normal, so that it is a little bit better.
I thought it was interesting he said, too, that at the very beginning of that background dev blog. And I love how communicative this team is. It seemed like they really give a shit, which I appreciate. He said that they just figured that most players, again, looking at the data, would start on normal, then switch down to easy. But actually, many players were just straight up quitting out of dignity.
They were like, I would rather quit with dignity than drop the difficulty to easy. And I'm like, okay, I get that.
Definitely goes into our larger question about difficulty and the psychological hang-ups around it.
The whole get-good mentality of Souls games and the requirement that they must be punishing for them to be enjoyable and that they don't need an easy mode. And what's funny is that he also mentioned that the easy mode, a lot of players were saying that, they could recommend it to friends, but this is the, quote, hardest easy mode they've played in a Souls game. Me personally, I didn't find that to be true. There were maybe a handful of bosses, and I wrote them down. It's Viper, of course, Malika, Elamane, Scalpel, Rankus, that maybe took a total of 5 tries for me to beat, but most other bosses I beat outside of Ozma. Took me 1 or 2 tries on most of the bosses, and I played on easy. So I didn't find that it was like the hardest easy mode.
And playing on normal, I guess now expert at the time, Scalpel was a nightmare. I can't believe I forgot to mention him in the last episode.
Scalpel.
He's absolutely the worst.
That coffin is crazy. And he just like stabs this gigantic sword in there, and I'm just like, why?
And speaking of the Spirit of Advocacy being free, Scalpel is one of the few bosses in which it hurts you having one there for you, because like he gets to his berserk state faster if he hits something. It doesn't just have to be you, it could be anyone. He goes into that unstoppable mode where he jumps on top of his coffin. Anyway, Scalpel sucks. I really overall I thought the difficulty levels were actually totally fine.
With the easy, on the normal, I thought, playing like now expert.
Well, once they changed it to where you could change it back if you want to, I thought it was fine how it was. But sure, like put in more options. The new hardcore mode actually seems pretty interesting and makes me curious to check it out someday, maybe next year or 2 years from now. I'm not feeling right now. But some interesting restrictions in there. most interesting to me was a different kind of lock-on camera perspective. Did you see this?
Yeah, where it's a little bit more pulled back, right?
It's closer to you.
Oh, that's what I mean.
And that's why it's harder. And actually, funny enough, one of the upcoming Souls games we're going to be previewing, Relic, the First Guardian, I think, has a similar type of super tight to you camera angle, which I don't know if I like, but I understand it adds a difficulty element. But so I thought really cool changes. Anything else you had to say about the camera angle? And
no, I just thought that it was really fascinating. I like the camera angle. I'm really curious to see how that changes the gameplay aspect of it, how it makes it more challenging, how it makes it more punchy, right? Because you're closer to the action. So I'm curious about that. And yeah, the difficulty changes I think are really good. I just feel like they're really catering to a Souls community that cares about optionality, as we've talked about in that giant discussion. Do Souls games need easy modes? I still feel like yes, only because it provides optionality. And why wouldn't you provide that option? If you have a particular way that you want your game to be played, sure, you can have that. And Junho Lee mentioned that they have a particular way, and that's what that hardcore difficulty mode is all about. So if you want to play it the way that it was designed, you can. But then there's the option to be like, well, I want to experience this game maybe just a little bit easier. Optionality, I feel like.
I'm not mad about it. I personally feel like I don't think it needs, because I think people should understand what these games are like, but
fair.
If it means more people playing and experiencing them, I'm cool with it, personally. Real quick, as we wrap up here.
Producer Artem.
Yeah?
You just said, you just said that the more people play, the better.
Yeah.
So in the long run, more people that buy the game means more games in the future.
Yes.
So why would people want to be against more easy difficulties?
Yeah, why? I could tell you
Good
why.
question.
Because people think of these games, name your hobby. It could be so many things, but people just create these walled gardens for themselves, and they don't like to let new people in all the time. This is what gamers are like sometimes. We don't want a big tent. This was my thing. Now we're letting more people in. It dilutes it.
Yeah, it dilutes the experience.
So that's kind of I think what the mentality is, but.
So you don't want people coming into your country.
Do you want me to respond to that?
That's kind of that's kind of what it is.
Thanks for dropping in.
The whole walled garden is that aspect of no, don't come into my hobby. If you can't beat Guardian Ape and Sekiro, then you have no business. Speaking about me, since I can't beat that boss, you have no business
Sekiro.
playing these games.
Hey, throw up the wolf. Throw up the wolf meme.
When did that game come out?
2017. We know it's 2019. We're working on some recurring bits here. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. And of course, in the update, Khazan.
Yeah, that's what I want to ask you. Why not? Cool.
Love it. More optionality, right? More ways to customize the character. More hairstyles.
Oh, good.
There were a lot of hairstyles that came with this update, which I think is fabulous. And who, fashion Souls is a whole thing. So who doesn't love to look hot while killing some demons?
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. I think I like it too.
Yeah.
I feel like I wasn't paying attention to how hot I was while I was killing the demons. It was more like afterwards I was covered in their blood. I'm like, I look good.
Yeah, you look good.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, I was like, girls on, sure, why not? It's not like their gender was core to their basically non-existent personality. So, sure, be a girl, be a guy, be a they, them. Tell me one thing about Khazan. I really can't as a person. Besides they're cool, they're strong, they're a general, and they're nice. Anything?
Revenge.
They're about revenge.
They're about revenge. And okay, so
So we love this game. We love this game.
We love this
as we've
game.
talked about it already, but it barely has a story.
Yeah.
So,
My only thought before we wrap this segment up, if Ben Starr voices male Khazan, who voices girl Khazan? Girlzan.
Did they not? Was there somewhere in the blog they said who did it?
I haven't. I was reading. I wasn't actually looking for it. So maybe there's someone there, and we're just bad at our jobs, which is true, probably. But that's my question. How does the voice acting work? Because Khazan is voiced. He has a part to play in the story.
I don't think they brought Ben Starr in and we were like, all right, guys. So what was that, Mickey Mouse? I don't even know. But we're back to Goofy again.
Oh, yuck.
I'm sure they got
Roger.
They got an excellent. Thank you. They got an excellent voice actress.
I'm sure.
Yeah. All right.
I'm sure.
So cool changes to a game that changes every fucking couple weeks. Please, no more updates. I love this game. Just stop changing shit.
The first changer, Khazan.
The first changer.
We're done.
All right.
Fabulous. So speaking on, Girls On and the First Berserker Khazan, obviously that's one of our favorite Soulslikes of 2025, but there are a bunch more coming out between now and 2026 when 3.0. Okay.
Neo 3.0.
Neo 3.0. That comes out next year.
And I'm glad you mentioned this because I was going to say, we're leaving a big omission from this list that you... thanks for putting this together.
Forced.
This list of this list of upcoming Soulslikes. Oh, shoot. Were we supposed to take a break?
Oh, shit.
We just got so excited we didn't. All right. So, you know what? Girl Khazan, I love her.
I love her.
Yeah.
I love male Khazan. I love girl Khazan. And with that, I think we're going to take a break.
Let's take a break, Levi. And when we come back, we're going to be previewing all the upcoming Soulslikes for 2025 and 2026.
See you soon.
All right, Levi, you ready to go down a Souls hole with me?
Yeah, I think so. We're back.
We're back
After our break, and it is time for
an upcoming preview of some Soulslikes coming out. What's our criteria? By the end of this year, 2025 and 2026?
In 2026, yeah.
Okay.
Some big games that we're looking at, right? What's next in Souls? Some games we're looking at, things that might seem interesting, things that are multi-platform,
So you put this list together. Thank you
I did.
for that. You doing that legwork. And before we get into it, there's an omission on here.
Right.
3.0, Neo 3.
3.0.
Yes. And
Has to be on the list, of course.
it's on the list. It's just we talked about it last time. So let's not, belabor it too much. We previewed it.
And loved it. Not much
We
to
did.
say about it other than the fact that we loved it and that we're really stoked about it.
Yeah.
2017, right?
It comes out in
2017?
2017. Yeah. I'm
So
looking
we're going
forward.
back in time.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to going back and just redoing. Can I reload the save on this whole reality we have?
I would love to. Save Scum, right?
Yeah, save scum.
No, Neo 3, really looking forward to that game coming out 2026. No official release date or month, just
yet.
2026. Team Ninja.
Team Ninja. So although we don't, have it on here,
It's like number 0.
it's number 0. It might be my top one besides what we identify as our top ones.
Totally.
Additionally on here, but okay, let's get into
Let's jump
it.
in.
Yeah.
So first game that we're kind of taking a look at is Ballad of Antara. Comes out 2025 apparently. No release date that I saw. No window. Summer, autumn, winter, Q4, whatever. Nothing like that. Developed by a studio called Tripswork Studio, which is a Shanghainese studio. Love that. Who developed another Souls-like called Pascal's Wager. Have you heard of this game?
I've not heard of this game.
I haven't heard of this game either. I think it came out in 2020, 2021. A mobile first, Switch second Souls-like.
Mobile first.
Mobile
Soulslike.
first. Yeah, it was iOS and Android first, and then it jumped over to Nintendo Switch. So maybe that tells you all you need to know about this game.
Fascinating.
Seems, I don't want to say bad.
Oh, we disagree
It didn't
already.
look that good.
Okay.
Not Ballad of Antara. No, I'm talking about Pascal's
sorry.
Wager.
Okay.
Seems not that good.
Okay.
Maybe.
Maybe it was
but-
a first effort.
Maybe it was a first effort. Maybe that leads into, because I believe Ballad of Antara is their second game. So Ballad of Antara looks good.
I think this is my favorite one, actually, of this list.
Why is
Ballad
that?
of Antara. Why is
what,
that?
Yeah. What stood out to you?
Yeah. Out of this upcoming list, Ballad of Antara stood out the most to me, and I think it's my favorite because, well, number one, I just love one of our protagonists is wearing the mask from The Mask, basically. Jim Carrey. Could be Jim Carrey. Honestly.
Love that movie.
We don't even know. Yeah, it's great. I was also thinking it was giving me strong Casey Jones from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle vibes.
He's hot. Love him.
My favorite hockey himbo.
He is a himbo. Oh my god.
He's a fucking idiot.
He's
man.
just a big dumbass.
But
Love him.
neither here nor there. I really value freaky little fuckers, as we've talked about, and enemy design, and
Is that one of those commandments, right? Creepy little fuckers.
hold on. You're talking about something that's coming down the line. We got it in the works, but we
Preview.
That's a preview. That's a little teaser there, and don't say the C word again this episode. All right.
My bad.
Okay, thank you. Blessed be you.
Thank you.
So there's some wild enemy designs in here. Really cool art. Like this felt like, to me, this felt like the most distinct visual design out of all of these.
Definitely.
And I think it's got a ton of potential. The story seemed quite jargon filled. Whatever.
Kind of generic in terms of a story. I feel like, a lot of these Souls games are the same.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're in this world. There's an affliction, disease. People become demons.
Yep. There's just something like we're on the path to the Colossus. I'm guiding this guy and whatever. It seems steeped in Chinese mythology, probably. Many of these games are Chinese developed.
And
this whole list.
That's what's actually really interesting. Maybe that's something that we'll touch on at the end here. But no, I agree. Very striking art style. I thought the world is really gorgeous. The enemies seemed a little spongy, which maybe that'll change as the game comes out. But the combat looks good. Very fluid.
Combat looks solid.
Combat looks solid.
Maybe you're right. Maybe it could be a little overtuned. Maybe they have to fix some numbers behind the scenes because it's not fun if like you're just fighting,
one guy for
sword
like
sponges.
5-10 minutes because it takes forever to kill or whatever.
Looks
good.
Mainly for me, I was just like really grabbed by like how fucking gross a lot of these enemies were. Like there's a fucking horrifying mosquito enemy.
Mosquitoes are the literal worst.
I also just hate mosquitoes. They love me. Mosquitoes. They love me and my blood. But yeah.
Blood bug gushes.
My reservation about this game, though, just like mechanically, like it's got this whole thing of like switching between 4 different characters.
Yes, that was.
And we'll see. I could see it getting annoying over the course of the game, but if it's executed well, I mean, I'm just excited to see more enemies and more bosses. So yeah, Ballad of Antara, this personally just like stood out to me the most in terms of like pure visual design, enemy design. Cool art.
I like the camera angle too. It's like kind of really wide, right? So you can like take in more of the environment. Environments look really good. The world looks really interesting, like you said, striking art style.
Had a little bit of a Lord of the Fallen feel to it actually, where there was like that different like. In the course of the trailer gameplay, we haven't seen anything from this game from a while, by the way.
For a while, I think
hopefully it's doing okay, but...
I hope it actually comes out in 2025. I keep seeing like, oh yeah, it's coming this year, and I'm like, we're halfway through the year here. What
I was going to say, though, it seems like there's a mechanic or part of the game in which there's like a different world, and you encounter like different enemies, and there's like a purple aesthetic. It just made me think of Lords of the Fallen.
That two world system. And last thing I'll say is that I really love that all of these games are developed by China, or most of them developed by Chinese studios. So we're getting a lot of Chinese mythology, a setting that we don't typically see too often. No. So love that.
Wuchang was kind of...
Wukong and Wolong. Those are the last two Souls games that I can think of that were set in China, ancient China. So I love that. We're getting more than just like your typical Lord of the Rings, dark fantasy, gothic knights.
In terms of video games, stuff set in ancient China or China period, all we've had is Dynasty Warriors, I feel like, and that's true.
I love that game.
Yeah,
love that whole series.
That's a particular type of game,
right?
Shall we say,
for a particular kind of person.
Yes.
But the second game is Where Winds Meet. Also coming out 2025. Again, no release date, no release.
I'm
month,
seeing.
nothing.
I would bet these all go to 2026. We know how games work, don't we?
Yeah. Once you say releasing in this year and you don't have a queue, something like a quarter or a season or even a month, that's not coming out this year.
It's cool. Take your time. I don't care.
I don't mind. Just don't give me the date. Don't give me the year. Just say, it's coming out. Cool.
So
thank you.
Where Winds Meet. This is another Chinese developed. And this is out already, I think, just in China.
In China. Yeah, it's out in China.
Published by NetEase.
Yep. Developed by another Chinese studio named Everstone. I believe this is their first game, as far as I could tell. And this is an open world wuxia.
Martial arts.
Open world wuxia game.
Yeah.
And of course, wuxia being Chinese martial arts and chivalry. Think of things like Hero with Jet Li.
Ip Man.
Ip Man, Kung Fu Panda. You know, they're really games. Or
I wasn't expecting Kung Fu Panda.
Well,
all the great masters.
Great masters.
Poe,
you know,
yeah.
But no, really, it's a genre of film that's about cool warriors doing cool stuff, powerful things that you wouldn't expect people to do. So it's really interesting seeing another game really tap into that, because I feel like you don't tend to see a lot of Chinese games that are based in a particular genre of film, Chinese games that are based in a particular era. So this is another interesting one that maybe the frame rate looks a little rough, but the combat, again, really fluid, really flashy, tons of like slow-mo stuff that you can do, very matrixy.
So this one, it's impressive. This is a first effort by them, by the development studio, because like to me, this one seems like really overstuffed with like a lot of concepts and like mechanics, and it just seems really ambitious. And I'm kind of worried about it in that respect. And you just alluded to it with the frame rate. There's just like so much stuff in this. Sometimes
you can lift a bear, like got some like.
That was amazing, though. That was fucking sick.
That was really
like we were
sick.
all watching the trailer together, and we saw, you know, there was like some kind of reflecting palm hand in which you like deflect a bear into the sky and
just like throw the bear. I was like, okay, so
that's
we've
cool.
got some like force.
Like you have my attention. You have my attention.
Right.
I just feel like this one seems a bit too ambitious, and I think it's going to be kind of like weighed down by all the things it's trying to do. Like I was seeing elements of like Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah,
it was one of the first comments, right? It was like Dark Ghost of Tsushima. Was that this one, or was that another?
No, that was this one.
That was this one, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because
the YouTube comments are on point sometimes. Yeah,
there's a whole sequence where the main character is riding on a horse, and there are all these reeds next to them, and they're blowing in the wind.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is definitely giving Ghost of Tsushima,
and
which is interesting.
There was like stealth stuff, you know,
climbing on a ship,
Yeah.
jump off the top mast, backflip, triple jump and arrow.
I don't even know how to describe it, but there were like these dialogue option things.
Yeah.
I guess those were like different principles of wuxia that you choose, and
because there are multiple fighting schools that you can go into that change how you approach combat. It seems really,
of course, huge skill tree. It just seems really ambitious, and I'm a little worried about it. We'll see. I don't know if this one's my cup of tea necessarily. But I think it's impressive that they have a backing of a huge publisher, NetEase.
Yeah.
So I could totally see this one doing well. I am a little concerned though about how well its own engine holds up.
Yeah, how it will perform.
Mm-hmm.
Producer Artem.
Eric, I think you're selling the game to me.
Oh, the bear?
Well, you're saying that it's too ambitious, but it's like it has elements of Ghost of Tsushima.
It's got like a little bit of
dialogue,
Assassin's Creed sort of exploration in there, and
different fighting styles.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really interesting.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, you know, sometimes I think maybe you, Artem, maybe all of us, we've played a game as like, this is trying to do a lot. This is trying to do a lot, and is it doing any one thing well?
Right.
But we'll see. I don't know. You're gonna get it, Artem? We could play it together.
I think we'll see.
Okay.
But it's the one with the bear punch?
Yes.
The bear punch. You loved that.
That was pretty
Big bear
cool.
punch.
That was a cool scene. We'll get that clip.
Please get that.
I think I remember exactly where it is in the video we watched. It was like near the end.
Right.
You know, because I was smart of them. They're like, wait till they see this bear scene.
That'll definitely sell them.
Yeah, that'll get them.
I thought, last thing I'll say is the setting is really interesting. That's what stuck out to me. This takes place a few hundred years, not that the two games are tied, but it takes place a few hundred years after Wolong Fallen Dynasty. This is specifically, if I can read my notes here, this is specifically set between like 907 to 979 ancient China.
Okay.
Wait, it's not 2017.
It's not 2017.
This is not 2017.
Yeah.
As much as I would love it to be 2017. So yeah, I thought the setting is really interesting. Again, it's a period of ancient China that we don't typically get to see. We already don't see it too often.
Yeah. What is this particular? Is this like a dynasty?
Yeah.
Which dynasty is this?
I want to say that this is called the 5 Dynasties and 10 Kingdoms period.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So it's a very particular time in ancient China.
5 dynasties and 10 kingdoms?
5 Dynasties and 10 Kingdoms. Yeah. That's like actually what the period is called too. I was like, really? But yeah,
seems like a tumultuous time.
Warring States periods.
Oh, they're one of their versions.
It's
of the
one of their
Warring States.
one of their versions of it. Yeah, so really interesting.
China's had a long,
story.
rich history. Who knew?
Who knew?
Games,
Who'd have thunk?
Games didn't know. It seems like until
Certainly
recently.
American history doesn't teach you shit.
It's a big, wide world. But
Yeah, right.
you know, let's have our own narrow view. Why not?
We've got our eyes on it. Cautiously optimistic. I think for me, it's really fascinating to see what they're doing.
I'm concerned, but my mind and heart is open to it. Yeah.
Fabulous. So, okay, moving on to the next game. This is the one that I think I'm most iffy about.
Yeah, this one might be rough, but
The Relic.
Yeah.
First Guardian. Not to be confused with the First Berserker Khazan. The Relic. First Guardian.
yeah, different first.
Different
And
firsts.
let's clarify too, you know, this list isn't necessarily like you gotta check these out. It's more like, you know, they could be ones of note.
Right. Things that we're watching.
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on.
Right.
For you, and we'll tell you if they're trash or not.
Yeah.
Maybe.
This is the Soulsbuds, after all. We need to know these things.
Roger.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is also developed by this is actually developed by a South Korean studio. So one of the few games on here that is not developed by a Chinese studio. Interesting. You know,
South Korean studio developed First Berserker Khazan.
yeah. Oh, that too.
Yeah. Next on.
You know, I thought this was maybe. You know, that's like a lot of what my question marks are here.
It's a
It's
maybe.
like combat looks rough?
Yeah.
Question mark.
When we first watched it,
Too many particle effects? Question mark.
when we first watched together, like my main thing was like, the tombstones break apart really cool. So that's cool, I
Yeah,
guess. But I
and-
didn't really have much else to say. Besides what we alluded to before, it's a different kind of, it's like a much tighter camera angle. Like
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
real
you are,
close to the character.
Really behind that back. I mean, you are like close to back shots?
You what?
Yes.
What was wrong with that? That was okay.
No, that was perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I just feel like, and of course, you know, it's not like we've played these games aren't out. This doesn't have a release date.
It's
other
just
than
a stylistic
2025.
choice.
It
Yeah.
just, and me being a blind person with low vision, that makes it very difficult to see these types
It's
of
a
games.
muddy game, too.
It is
Muddy.
very hard to see.
Yeah. Everyone's wearing a hood too.
And it's so dark. There are so many particle effects happening on the screen at one time.
our
you
guy-
block and it's just
yeah.
like sparks everywhere.
So
Our
it's-
guy is in a hood. He's all black.
I was
I'm
gonna.
like,
We were joking like he's doing an Aragorn cosplay. This
Literally.
guy.
the darkness, First Guardian, I guess. And you know the funny.
I
thing
can
is-
barely see this first Guardian.
Yeah, literally. And the funny thing that I've noticed when I rewatched the trailer was all of these enemies have some sort of scream. Like they are always screaming. The Relic, screaming Guardian. Like they're that's literally what they always kind of start with, is some sort of scream.
Yeah.
Combat
Okay.
though seems I said rough, but I mean some parts of it kind of look cool. So I'm like, okay, like maybe there's that. Story doesn't sound too interesting. You know, you're some knight of
It's
some
pretty
order,
generic.
and you're stopping some plague running rampant in some dark fantasy setting. Sounds like Dark Souls.
Yeah. I mean, this one seemed the most generic to me personally. At first, I thought maybe Where Winds Meet was more generic, but then when I watched it some more, just like the sheer stuff it's trying kind of is its unique feature. This one, listen, we're not writing it off, of course. It definitely is going way more for a gothic style. In fact, I would say it's too gothic. Can barely fucking see.
Can barely see.
Like it's muddy textures. Everyone's wearing black cloaks.
The like lighting,
Very little lighting.
awful.
And I just feel like I said before, you don't usually see this particular type of camera angle. And like in these games, every game really, like camera control or like how the camera works is
Right.
very important. So I just think that they're making this harder on themselves and harder on the players.
Definitely.
By making that very intentional choice of like keeping the camera so tight. I mean, we were talking before, like in hardcore mode in Khazan, that's how the camera is because they know it's harder like that.
Yeah.
And so for it to be like this, it's a unique feature. Like, okay, we'll see. I think I'm most skeptical of this one out of the
Same.
whole list. Yeah.
Same. I'm curious, but I think there's a skepticism there. So I don't know. You know, we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. It's supposed to come out this year. We'll see.
It won't.
It probably won't. So next one, right? Daba, Land of Water Scar.
Yeah.
That's a name.
It's a bit of a mouthful.
That's
Now, there
name.
wasn't a ton of... There was a decent amount of footage, but this is another one we haven't seen from in a little bit. But what I thought was... A couple things that I thought was interesting about this one. It's actually part of... we're talking about more and more Chinese developers. This is one, and it actually is part of this thing called the China Hero Project. You saw it too.
Yeah.
Sponsored by PlayStation, and it's kind of just a support initiative for Chinese-based developers, which I think is great.
Love it. Yeah.
Want to see more of that, more studios get involved in this realm, games as a whole.
And I think ancient China, as we're seeing, with Wuchang, Black Myth Wuchang, Wolong Fallen Dynasty, Ballad of Antara, Where Winds Meet, and then the next one that we'll talk about, Wuchang Fallen Feathers. Ancient China just has such rich folklore that is like perfect to create creepy little fuckers with, that are the hardest bosses possible, with multi-phases that'll absolutely push your shit in.
It's actually
this
pretty
is kinda
wild.
perfect.
We haven't gotten Chinese mythology before like the last 4 years or so
Right.
in these types of these
Really
types
insane.
of games. But as to the game itself, Daba, what I liked about this one is so I think my favorite was Ballad of Antara because I liked its aesthetic and its design style. I feel like I like this design style second most. It kind of has like a more of a how should I say this? Not like DreamWorks, but like a little more animated and not quite cartoony, but you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the way that I was trying to describe it, and of course developed by a Chinese studio as well. I believe the studio is called Studio Darkstar.
This is probably their first
Shanghai-based.
effort if they're part of the Hero Project.
It seemed like it. The way that I was trying to describe it was something akin to it's a little bit less dark fantasy, a little bit less gothic, and more like Breath of the Wild.
Oh, okay, yeah, I kind of like that actually.
It's not Wind Waker, because I almost said Wind
No,
Waker.
not
Wind
Wind
Waker's
Waker.
too cartoony, but it's not really Breath of the Wild, but that's what I am kind of getting. DreamWorks makes sense. Breath of the Wild, it's a little bit less dark and gritty and gothic and macabre.
Yeah.
And those elements are still in there based on the enemies that we were seeing and some of the.
There was that guy
gameplay
spinning
footage.
around in a huge bell, whatever that was.
Whatever
There
that was,
that cool
freaky.
bird dude. I thought that guy was sweet.
Some person in a cloak that has like a hunchback, kind of fucked up face.
There's a guy playing a drum.
Yeah, so creepy little fuckers for sure, but definitely
And
a little
big.
bit more on the light side in terms of its art style. So
Yeah.
I was fascinated
And we
by the
don't-
art.
Yeah, and we don't know much about this one, honestly.
Don't know much about it.
There
No,
wasn't a ton to work with, but I'm definitely intrigued. It just looks different than everything else I've seen so far, which is saying a lot because this is a really saturated genre, Souls-like.
Definitely.
And, every episode we do this podcast, I'm like, have we made a huge fucking mistake?
I know there are so many of these goddamn games. It's crazy.
No,
but
this is a good idea. It's a good idea.
there's a little bit of like Sekiro elements in it too, because like
Sekiro.
that's what I was getting with some of the mentioned him again. There's a lot of like parry in this type of game.
Seemed
and
important.
it seems like that parry mechanic is really necessary to kind of whittle down the white bar under the boss's health. It seemed like, if I remember right, it looks like you might be able to stagger by parrying. So I was like, oh, is there a little bit of like Sekiro sprinkled in here?
Perhaps.
Yeah, so I'm definitely interested in this one.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's say we'll see after each one.
Yeah, right.
As we
Exactly.
go.
We'll see. And this is one of the games that has just a to be determined on it. No official release date.
Okay.
I saw that maybe 2025, more likely 2026. I assume it's not coming until next year.
2027.
Like all of
Got
these.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, probably 2027.
All right, let's get
but I
into
definitely
one.
assume next year.
Yeah, we'll see. Let's get into one that has a firm release date and is coming out soon.
Yeah, last one, Wuchang Fallen Feathers, comes out July 24th. So by the time this episode comes out, you should have played it.
Did
I
you
will
play it?
play
Oh,
it.
you played it. Okay.
I will have played it.
Yeah.
I have it pre-ordered. Don't pre-order games too often. We're broke. But this seems like a very interesting game. It looks fast, kind of Bloodborne-y, kind of Sekiro.
Now you're just taunting me. Okay.
Now I'm just taunting. But no, this actually, I feel, genuinely has some of the Sekiro mechanics in it, some of the Bloodborne mechanics in it. It also low-key reminds me of Stellar Blade in the way that the camera angle is handled.
The many Fashion Souls
the Fashion
outfits.
Souls aspects.
There's some
that
fan service in here, too.
Yes, of course.
She
is hot, which we love.
She is hot.
Very gorgeous.
And I want to mention when we were all watching one of the trailers together, I think it was of Boss, producer Artem said something along the lines of "Holy tits."
Holy tits.
And and I agreed. Yeah.
No, this definitely looks really solid. I wish that there was a demo because I would have loved to check it out because it seems really promising, like a Souls-like to kind of tide us over to through the end of the year. If Khazan, satiated us, filled us up with his lacrima.
You what?
For the first half of 2025, then Wuchang's feathering is definitely tickling my fancy.
It's making me think the C word for next time as a preview. Perhaps one of the C words we should consider is thou.
Commandments. Let's talk about the commandments.
Thou shalt have a disease of some kind. The feathering,
everywhere.
dragon rot. What goes on in Bloodborne? Whatever's going on in Bloodborne.
Yeah, whatever's going on in Bloodborne. Neo has it too.
Everything.
Wolong has it too.
So many diseases.
I feel like there's probably one in Wukong. Like all these Souls games always have some sort of plague.
There has to be a reason why normal people are getting all crazy and turn into wild multi-phase bosses, basically.
So real quick, right?
Okay, we got to start wrapping up.
Yeah,
soon,
we got to
okay.
start wrapping up. So the last thing that I'll say that I think is probably the most fascinating thing about Wuchang, as you die, a phantom version of you appears. And in order to collect your stuff, apparently, you have to go fight this phantom version of yourself.
Oh.
So I thought that was really fascinating.
I like that take on the Souls run.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, okay. So, like, the more you die, not only does that change because the feathering kind of advances in the same way that, mentioning it again, Sekiro, the feathering gets worse, I think, the more you die. There's also this phantom version of you that is haunting the realm, and it will have your same equipment. So I'm curious about this aspect of the corpse run. I think that'll be really fascinating. And then, of course, real quick, right?
Yeah.
Bonus, Hell Is Us seems...
Can I say one more thing about Wuchang?
Oh, yeah, please.
Actually,
back up, right? Let's back it up.
Fuck. This is a beautiful game. I do want to not shortchange this. This is a very... this definitely seems like Unreal Engine 5 because it seems like super HDR bloomy. It's like actually it's bordering on oversaturated. Like we're talking about Relic First Guardian can barely fucking see. This game
can see too much.
There's a lot going on. Yeah. What I've seen in the hands-on previews, IGN hands-on preview done by Will Borger. Guy met, really nice guy. Yeah.
Oh, love him.
Will?
I don't know him.
Yeah.
But I love his content. I love the way that he does voiceovers. Great stuff. Tends to pay attention really closely to what really matters in a video game. Love that.
I just met him recently. Nice guy.
Oh,
he was
nice.
wearing a Pittsburgh Steelers hat. And I was
Is he in New York?
I think he is in New York. Shout out to Will. I was like, why did the Pittsburgh Steelers give my New York Giants their shitty quarterbacks? He didn't have a good answer for me. Anyway.
Makes sense. Sports buds.
Sports buds. You're not a sport.
No, I'm not.
You're not a sport.
No.
Go Sacramento Kings.
Go Kings. Let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets. Oh, Mets. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You're a Mets fan.
I have to be. I live in Queens.
Hell yeah. I think this one's going to be cool.
And we're talking about Wuchang.
Well, Wuchang. I think this is going to be a cool Mets season, probably.
Yeah, hopefully.
I think they're on a big.
I mean, they got
losing game
Juan
streak.
Soto, so they have to be doing good. I think.
All right, you know what? I actually don't have more to say about Wuchang. If we're talking about baseball, clearly I don't have too much more to say. But I do think, I like that it's going for something new with the corpse run.
Yeah,
interesting aesthetics, freaky enemy designs too. There
Very
it is again.
Freaky.
Yeah.
Gotta love creepy little fuckers.
Some cool bosses and big fuckers. Cool bosses. I think it's going to be a worthy entry in here. Seems like you wake up with a Ninja, and that's the story hook. Sometimes that can be overdone.
I feel like it usually is, but it seems like there might be something to it here because, as you fight, the more bosses you kill, I think you get to unravel. The main character's name is Bai Wuchang, so you get to unravel her amnesia and kind of what happened to her. She's like a pirate. So you get to kind of figure out her backstory as you progress more and fight more bosses.
Oh my god, maybe
NPCs,
maybe she has the will of D.
Bai D Wuchang.
Bai D Wuchang, and she's an enemy of the the world government. All right.
That makes
sense. Last one.
Yeah, bonus Hell Is Us.
Yeah.
That's like the big game coming out September 4th, I believe. You know, it's debated, widely debated online as a Souls-like, as not a Souls-like.
Because the director came out and actually explicitly said it's not.
But the combat
absolutely has Souls-like elements, and I've watched it through. And yeah, my main thing on this one, I'd love to hear your thoughts as we start to wind this down. Is that iced coffee good? That looks really good.
It's really good.
Fuck.
It's got to be caffeinated. When talking about Souls games, you got to stay up.
Yeah.
Stay up. Stay active.
Stay up. Yeah.
Viagra.
Glad you were with me on that because I looked at you. It was like,
stay up.
Yeah. Okay.
Bring it back.
My thing with this one, I think it's going to be a really cool action RPG.
Yes.
To me, it looks like there's just like too much environmental puzzle solving in this one. I feel like I'm not smart enough for this game. I like what they're going for.
Yeah. They say they're not holding your hand. There's no map. I don't think.
Right.
You have to know. You have to be paying attention.
You talking to NPCs give you contextual clues. I like that. I like all that. I just think for me, my bugaboo. And we just saw like, a vertical slice of the game. I'm sure it will be different in the main release. Enemy variety seemed lacking.
Yeah, that 51 minutes that we saw of gameplay, like 2 enemy types, I think.
At most 2 enemy types, and they were kind of the same model.
They were the same.
There were like the linked enemies.
That had like the umbilical cord. That you had to like kill those.
Which is not a unique concept, but it seemed like a pretty clever execution of it. The stories, this seems like the coolest story.
Definitely. Most gripping story, I feel like.
Yeah, I was really interested to just try to figure out what was going on.
And I think this is also a very beautiful game. It's realistic. They're going for that kind of hyper realism. The way that I thought of it was like dark Death Stranding Souls, you know, because it's like a mix between like a Dark Souls-ish, talking about the combat, with the sci-fi elements of like a Death Stranding. Seems very creepy.
Also a little Aragorn cosplay, though, honestly.
Yep, because you get that black cloak, right? Yeah. The sword seems kind of tight.
Sword seems tight.
And what I think is really fascinating is once you get weapons...
The drone, too.
The drone is cool. You can use the drone to distract. Love that.
Yeah.
But when you get weapons, you level those weapons up by using them. So it's kind of like that Neo affinity, right?
Oh, well, I like that.
The more you use it, the stronger the weapon becomes. So, I don't know.
Could be.
Is it a Souls-like? Who knows?
The guy making it said no.
He said no, but I guess it'll really depend on the execution.
Yeah.
And maybe that briefly leads into, and we'll save it, right?
Yeah.
What is a Souls-like? What do we look for in Souls games? Yeah. What are the tentpole, I don't know, mechanics or elements that make a Souls game?
Yeah. What do you need to see first to be like, I'm in? And
right. And like this is a Souls-like and I'm in.
And I feel like, me at least, I've answered it over the course of our discussion here, talking about upcoming stuff. But like, what I want to see in a Souls game, a Souls-like, what always grabs me first in a trailer, a gameplay trailer, I need to see really fucking weird, I've said the word many times, freaky little big fuckers. I need to mumble under my breath, what the fuck is that? What is that? I need enemy design. I need enemy variety. Because to me, that's what it's all about. Like the challenge, the tension, like who am I going? The tension.
Yes.
Who am I going up against? How do I even imagine myself beating them? You know,
the scale. Like, are they huge?
Scale. Yep. To me, that's not my bugaboo. The opposite. That's what I look for.
That gets you going. That keeps you up.
Oh, it gets me going. Yeah. Viagra. Yeah.
Keeps you up and up. Mm-hmm. No, that makes sense. I agree with a lot of that. I think for me, what I need to see is, interlocking level design.
Yeah.
I need to see convoluted storytelling. It can be straightforward, but I think having a story that is weaved in through environmental storytelling is also important. And stamina management. I feel like those are like the big, some of the big components. I think there's other stuff.
It's interesting.
Too.
You like explicitly be like, what's up with the stamina before you want to go into it.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, okay, so, how do I manage my stamina? How important is stamina? Are there ways for me to recover my stamina in the same way that you would in Neo, right? Wolong, the way that changed how you use stamina.
It's a core element, and it's important, like how they tackle it.
I think so.
For your enjoyment of the game, and yeah, man. I mean, I'm always managing stamina, throughout
in real life,
in
video games, There's only so much
in the wider world of pop culture. I don't know if you know this is going on, but actually, it's the NBA off season right now. It just started recently.
2 hours later.
Okay, you know what? All right. Yeah,
that's fair.
We won't talk about. We're not the sports buds.
We are not the sports buds. You're gonna have to get DJ on for that one.
yeah. We'll see if you might. I don't know.
Maybe.
Light the beam. Sacramento Kings. They're doing good.
Let's do it.
Let's
go.
2 hours later.
They're not doing good. Okay, I'll shut up.
Well, that's been our show, right?
Yeah, that will be it.
Thanks for resting at the bonfire with us today, buds. You can find us on social at Soulsbuds Pod everywhere. Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube. You can also hit us on our email at soulsbudspod@gmail.com. If you'd like to see something covered on the show, if you want us to yap about something, let us know. Hit us up. Alex Garland.
Maybe we should stop bothering him.
Maybe. That's fair. He games.
Now we know he games. We'll leave you alone.
Garland. And of course, if you want to support the show, you can support us by subscribing on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you listen to things on the internet.
All that good stuff.
All that great stuff.
All right. We've been your Souls Buds, and we'll see you at the next bonfire.
Bye.